You know, right now, a new kind of great game is playing out across one of the most important stretches of water on the entire planet. And we're not just talking about ships and submarines here. This is a massive, high-stakes race for influence and control of the Indian Ocean, with two major players at the center of it all, India and China. So what's really going on here? Let's get into it. So picture this. India's Prime Minister, Narendra Modi, standing on the deck of the country's very first homegrown aircraft carrier, the INS Vikrant, and he makes this powerful declaration. Now, this wasn't just some ceremonial line. This was a clear signal to the world of a brand new, much more assertive maritime strategy for India. It really set the stage for a major shift.
And that really is the million-dollar question, isn't it? Because guarding these waters, well, it's no small feat. It takes an incredible amount of resources, a really smart long-term strategy, and of course the best technology you can get your hands on. This whole naval buildup is framing a huge competition over who's going to be the one to secure and maybe even control this absolutely critical region. Okay, so why all the fuss about this one particular ocean? Well, it's because the Indian Ocean is so much more than just a name on a map. You've got to think of it as the strategic and economic heart of the entire planet's trade. You know, this quote is more than 100 years old, but it honestly feels like it could have been written yesterday. The famous strategist Alfred Thayer Mahan, he just knew that this ocean was the absolute key to Asian geopolitics. And today, his words are basically the playbook for the world's rising powers. Let's just talk numbers for a second. Get this, a staggering 2/3 of the world's entire oil supply passes right through the Indian Ocean. I mean, think about that. It is the energy lifeline that connects the Middle East to the industrial engines of Asia. If anything goes wrong here, the whole world feels it. And it's not just oil, not by a long shot. A full 50% of all global container trade, we're talking the clothes you're wearing, the phone in your hand, it all sails through these very same sea lanes. That makes the Indian Ocean a totally non-negotiable, critical artery for the world's economy, period. So who are the main characters in this unfolding drama? Well, on one side, you have the established regional power, India, which has always seen this ocean as its own backyard, its natural sphere of influence. And on the other, you've got the rising global challenger, China, which is dead set on projecting its power far, far from its own shores. And both of these nations are racing toward the exact same goal, to build a true blue water navy. Now that's a key term. It doesn't just mean having a bunch of ships. It means you have the power to operate anywhere on the globe for long periods without needing to run back to your home base. It's the absolute gold standard of naval power. So let's put them side by side. Right now, China has a pretty big head start, at least in numbers. We're talking 3 aircraft carriers in the water, a fleet of over 350 warships. But India is hitting back hard with a huge push in domestic shipbuilding and speeding up its own fleet expansion, especially with its nuclear submarine program. And for both of them, 2035 is kind of the target year. And this right here is a huge milestone for India. By getting its homegrown carrier, the INS Vikrant, up and running, India now has 2 fully operational aircraft carriers. That is a massive leap forward. It means they can project power on both their western and eastern coasts at the same time, a capability that very, very few nations on Earth actually have. All right, let's switch gears and look at China's strategy. See, Beijing isn't just building a bigger navy. It's methodically creating a strategic footprint, a whole network of ports and facilities right in India's maritime backyard. It's a strategy that's often called the string of pearls. And if you want to understand the mindset, just listen to this phrase, which you hear a lot in official Chinese media. It's a psychological play, really. The goal is to challenge the whole idea that India should be the top dog in the region, and to make a permanent Chinese naval presence seem normal, even though it's thousands of miles from home. So how are they actually doing it? Well, it starts with symbolic stuff, like going around and renaming undersea mountains and ridges in Mandarin to try and build a historical narrative. But then it gets much more concrete. They're pouring money into commercial ports like Gwadar in Pakistan and Hambantota in Sri Lanka. Now, they say these are just economic projects, but they have a clear dual-use potential, meaning they can easily service warships. And then, the biggest move of all, establishing their first ever overseas military base in Djibouti. Yeah, this base in Djibouti is an absolute game changer. Right now, it's basically a logistics and refueling hub, but the plan is for it to be fully operational by 2026 or 2027. And this isn't just a pit stop for their ships, this is the launch pad for a permanent Chinese naval presence in the Indian Ocean. It's the critical puzzle piece they need for that true blue water navy we were talking about. So, all these moves and countermoves, it all brings us to the end game. As both countries are sprinting towards their 2035 naval goals, what does the future of the Indian Ocean actually look like? Because the outcome of this rivalry, it's going to define security in Asia for generations to come. When you talk to analysts, they pretty much see three ways this could all play out. The best-case scenario, a tense but stable balance of power. More likely, though, is a proxy rivalry, where the competition plays out through smaller countries and at those critical choke points. But the most dangerous path is an open contest, where we start seeing direct naval face-offs and what they call gray zone operations. Aggressive moves that fall just short of an act of war, pushing things right to the very edge. So really, if you take away one thing, it should be this. It all boils down to two goals that are fundamentally at odds. India is working to be the main security provider for the whole region, the local sheriff, if you will. Meanwhile, China's doing everything it can to become a permanent, powerful military player right in India's neighborhood. And you can see how those two ambitions are on a direct collision course. And that leaves us with the final, unavoidable question. With 2035 as the unofficial finish line in this naval marathon, the decisions being made in New Delhi and Beijing right now are setting the course for the future. The destiny of Asia's most vital waterway really does hang in the balance.